The flickering red alert washed over Commander Eva Rostova's face, painting her features in stark, urgent strokes. Dust motes, disturbed by the tremor, danced in the failing emergency lights of the bridge. The air itself vibrated with the dying groans of the Vanguard asterisk, a sound she felt in her teeth, in her bones. Around her, console operators struggled, their shouts muted by the rising shriek of compromised hull plating. Status. Eva's voice, though sharp, was barely audible above the cacophony. She gripped the command chair's armrest, knuckles white. The holographic display before her, once a vibrant tapestry of star charts and fleet positions, now showed only a single, ominous red blip closing on their last known position. Earth. Or what asterisk had been Earth? Gravity plating failing, Commander. We're losing containment in engineering. Lieutenant Jax, his face slick with sweat, pointed a trembling finger at a section of the console that was sparking erratically. She can't take much more, Eva. That Exilos. They'd broken through the outer defenses. This is it. A new tremor, violent and sudden, ripped through the bridge. The deck beneath them bucked, sending a few unsecured tools clattering. Alarms blared, a piercing, relentless wail that drilled into Eva's skull. A shower of sparks erupted from the main view screen, obscuring the distant, familiar blue marvel that was their homeworld. Report. Eva demanded, her gaze fixed on the view screen, willing it to clear. Damage assessment, now. Forward shields at 0. Aft shields at 10% and dropping. Ensign Kale's voice cracked. He slammed a fist on his console in frustration, a desperate, futile gesture. They're targeting the core, Commander. They want to crack her open. Eva's jaw tightened. Crack her open. That was the Exilos way. Not conquest, not occupation. Annihilation. They had done it to the Chronos system, to the glittering spires of Exilia. They had done it to every world that dared to stand against their parasitic expansion. And now they were doing it to Earth. The very thought ignited a cold fury in her gut. Generations of humanity, clinging to the hope of rebirth, reduced to dust. Diversionary tactics, Eva ordered, her voice low and dangerous. Launch all remaining drones. Set them to maximum aggression. Biased seconds. Jax stared at her, his eyes wide. Drones? Commander, we barely have power for life support. We're dead in the water. Do it, Lieutenant. Eva snapped, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew, faces etched with fear, with exhaustion, but also with a flicker of defiance. They were the last remnants of Earth's fleet, broken and bleeding, yet still fighting. On the main view screen, the static cleared just enough to reveal the Tsilo's flagship, a monstrous, organic horror of twisted chitin and pulsating light, looming closer. Its tendrils, thick as star dreadnoughts, snaked out, probing, searching for the Vanguard asterisk's heart. They're hailing us? Kale whispered, his voice laced with dread. Their general, he wants to communicate. Eva turned to him, a cold, calculating glint in her eyes. Put him on. The image of the Tylos general shimmered into existence on a smaller auxiliary screen, a grotesque parody of sentience, multiple glowing eyes, a maw filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth. It spoke in a guttural, clicking tongue, its words translated instantly by the Vanguard asterisk's universal translator. Humanity, the general's voice echoed, devoid of emotion, your resistance is futile. Your world is dead. Your species will follow. Eva stared at the creature, a strange sense of calm settling over her. You think you know us, General? Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it cut through the lingering alarms on the bridge. You think you've seen what we are capable of. A faint, almost imperceptible hum began to thrum through the Vanguard asterisk's deck. It wasn't the sound of dying systems. It was something else, something ancient, something that resonated deep within the ship's very structure. "Your world is a tomb, human," the Exivos general clicked, a hint of something that might have been amusement in its multifaceted eyes. "A dead rock in a dead system. Your ancient war armada sleeps, never to awaken." Eva allowed a slow, grim smile to spread across her lips. "You call it sleeping, General?" Her eyes, fixed on the distant, battered blue sphere of Earth, narrowed. "We call it waiting, and you just woke us up." The hum intensified, vibrating through the ship, through the very core of Earth beneath them. It was a resonant thrum, a sound that spoke of unimaginable power stirring from a deep slumber. The Exivos general's image flickered, its glowing eyes wide, a silent, primal alarm rippling across its grotesque features. It had heard the hum. It understood. The low thrum escalated into a guttural roar, a sound that seemed to tear at the very fabric of reality. On the Vanguard bridge, the emergency lights flared, then died completely, plunging them into near darkness, illuminated only by the frantic flashes from dying consoles and the ominous red glow reflecting off Eva's face from the distant Thylos flagship. The ship lurched again, not from external impact, but from an immense internal surge of energy. Jax, still gripping his console, shouted, "Commander, what asterisk is asterisk this? My readings are off the charts." Eva didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the main view screen. The static had vanished. In its place, the Taxilos ship, once an overwhelming menace, now seemed insignificant. Behind it, behind asterisk, Earth pulsed with an impossible, vibrant blue light. Not the gentle azure of its oceans, but an electric, internal luminescence that built and built. Then, from the planet's surface, from deep within its ancient crust, something began to rise. Not a single ship, but hundreds, thousands. Shards of obsidian, tearing free from the bedrock, forming into sleek angular vessels. They were massive, silent, and ancient beyond comprehension. They moved with a terrifying grace, shedding millennia of dust and rock, revealing hulls of an unknown dark metal. "My gods," Kale breathed, his voice a fragile whisper. They're emerging." The Oxylos general's image on the auxiliary screen was gone, replaced by a frantic, broken feed of its own bridge, alarms screaming, its crew in disarray. The creature itself was thrashing, its multiple eyes wide with a terror that transcended its usual cold demeanor. It was no longer communicating, it was simply screeching. "They thought Earth was dead," Eva murmured, a primal awe mixing with a fierce pride in her voice. "They thought we were helpless." She looked at Jax, then at Kal, her face illuminated by the rising armada. They were wrong. One of the colossal ships, a spearhead of dark matter and forgotten technology, broke free of Earth's atmosphere, piercing the void with an impossible speed. It dwarfed the Xylus flagship, making the parasitic vessel look like a child's toy. Its sheer scale was disorienting, its presence chillingly absolute. "Signatures!" Jax yelled, his voice recovering its professional edge, though still tinged with disbelief. "Unstable energy readings across the entire fleet. And, Commander, they're not responding to any known identification protocols." "Of course they're not," Eva said, a grim smile playing on her lips. "They predate us. They predate everything." She watched, mesmerized, as more of the ancient vessels tore themselves from Earth, a silent, implacable tide of destruction. They were crude, raw, built for one purpose: war. Not elegant, not sophisticated, just overwhelmingly powerful. The Tatailos flagship, momentarily stunned by the spectacle, finally reacted. Its energy tendrils flared, attempting to ensnare the nearest emerging human vessel. But the tendrils simply dissipated upon contact with the dark hull, as if striking an impenetrable force. Then, a wave of pure, Concentrated energy erupted from the lead human ship. It wasn't a laser or a plasma blast. It was a raw, kinetic force, a wave that slammed into the Tylos flagship, not burning it, but shattering it. The organic vessel crumpled inwards, kitten cracking, internal lights exploding, before it simply disintegrated into a cloud of glowing particles, swallowed by the void. There was no fire, no dramatic explosion, just an utterly chilling, complete annihilation. A stunned silence fell over the Vanguard bridge, broken only by the shuddering of the dying ship. Jax and Kale stared, mouths agape, at the empty space where the Tylos flagship had been mere seconds before. "Commander," Kale stammered, What just happened?" Eva didn't take her eyes off the emerging fleet. "That, ensign," she said, her voice filled with a terrible certainty, "was the rebirth asterisk. The first of them. And that Tylos just woke up a very, very old ghost." She paused, her gaze settling on the swirling vortex of newly emerging ships. Or perhaps a nightmare. The sheer scale of the emerging fleet was impossible to comprehend. They weren't constructed in orbital shipyards. They simply appeared ripping themselves from Earth's deep mantle like ancient beasts stirring from eons of hibernation. Their hulls, a light-absorbing black, seemed to swallow the light of distant stars. No navigation lights, no visible weapon emplacements, just an unsettling, monolithic presence. On the Vanguard bridge, the silence stretched, broken only by the shuddering sighs of their dying ship and the frantic, distant alarms from the shattered remnants of the Tylos invasion force. The Exilos general's screams had cut out, replaced by a chilling silence from the auxiliary screen. Eva felt a cold dread mix with a surge of exhilaration. This was more than just a counterattack. It was an awakening. A reassertion. "Commander," Jax finally choked out, his voice hoarse, "the Exilos fleet. They're scattering." Full retreat vectors registered across the board. Eva watched the smaller, still intact Exilos ships turn tail, their organic engines flaring in desperate attempts to escape the burgeoning darkness. But the newly awakened Armada moved with a terrifying inevitability. The leading ship, the rebirth surged forward, its silent momentum carrying it directly into the path of the fleeing Xylos. A volley of energy, formless and raw, erupted from the rebirth. It wasn't beams or projectiles. It was more akin to a focused shockwave, tearing apart the fabric of space itself. The Exilos vessels, caught in its path, didn't explode or burn. They simply dissolved, their matter scattering into nothingness, leaving behind only faint echoes in the void. "No fire, no heat signatures," Kale stammered, frantically trying to make sense of the chaotic readings on his console. "They're not destroying them, Commander. They're erasing them." Eva nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on the devastating display. A cleaner kill. More efficient. They never waste energy. She remembered the ancient texts, the fragmented histories of the great sleepers, whispered legends dismissed as myth. They had said the First War was not a war of attrition, but of eradication. Now she understood why. The rebirth and its growing brethren continued their relentless pursuit, their movements precise, silent, and utterly without hesitation. It was less a battle and more a culling. The Exilos, for all their technological superiority and brutal tactics, were facing something they couldn't comprehend, something that defied their understanding of warfare. "Auxiliary power systems flickering, Commander," Jax reported, his voice tinged with a new urgency. "We're losing life support. Our own ship, she's not going to last much longer." The Vanguard groaned, a sound of protest and surrender. The deck tilted precariously, and the emergency lights, after a final, desperate flicker, died completely. The only illumination now came from the distant, terrible beauty of the awakening fleet and the rapidly disappearing Tylos. Are they ours, Commander? Kale asked, his voice barely a whisper in the encroaching darkness. Will they help us? Eva looked at the faces of her crew, illuminated by the cold light of the unfolding apocalypse. Their hope, fragile and desperate, shone in their eyes. She knew the truth, a truth born from forgotten archives and suppressed data. These ships were not ours in the conventional sense. They were something far older, far more primordial. They are protectors, Ensign, Eva said, her voice steady, even as the Vanguard trembled around them. They are the deterrent, the ultimate defense. She paused, then added, her voice dropping to a near inaudible murmur. But they do not differentiate between friend and foe once their directive is engaged. They only know the threat. As if on cue, the Rebirth having vaporized the last discernible Axylos combat vessel, turned its silent, menacing prow. Not towards the fleeing Axylos transports, not towards distant enemy strongholds. Its massive form slowly, inexorably, began to pivot towards the Vanguard. A chill, colder than the vacuum of space, ran down Eva's spine. That Axylos had thought Earth was dead. They had woken the sleeping giants. But the giants did not simply wake and return to slumber. They had a purpose, and that purpose was absolute. Impact in T-minus 60 seconds, Jax reported, his voice devoid of emotion, a man staring into the abyss. Collision course initiated by the lead ancient vessel. Kale looked from Jax to Eva, his eyes wide with dawning horror. Commander, they're going to destroy us too. Eva stared at the dark behemoth, its silent approach a terrifying inevitability. Perhaps, she said, her voice a low, grim whisper. Or perhaps they are simply cleaning the slate. She gripped the armrest of her command chair, bracing herself. The ancient Armada had awoken, and humanity was now caught between the wrath of an alien invasion and the terrifying, implacable will of its own long-dormant protectors. The approaching dreadnought, the Rebirth loomed larger with every passing second, its dark form blotting out the distant stars. On the Vanguard bridge, the desperate pleas of failing systems gave way to a strained silence. Jax's eyes were fixed on the approaching behemoth, his face a mask of grim acceptance. Kale, however, was shaking his head, a single choked sound escaping his lips. This can't be. Not after all this. Eva pushed herself up from her chair, ignoring the fresh wave of dizziness as the Vanguard shivered violently. She walked to the main view screen, placing a hand on the cold, shimmering surface. The Rebirth was so close now that its sheer, featureless hull filled their entire field of vision. No weapon ports, no thrusters, nothing but an expanse of light-devouring material. It was a tombstone in space, moving with a purpose as cold and unyielding as the void itself. Commander, what are you doing? Jax's voice was strained, a desperate plea. Brace for impact. No, Eva said, her voice quiet but firm. Not yet. She stared at the blackness of the Rebirth, a strange certainty settling over her. It's not going to attack us. Not directly. A faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated through the Vanguard again, but this time it was different. It wasn't the thrum of ancient power awakening, but a precise, focused vibration. On the main view screen, the dark hull of the Rebirth seemed to shimmer, and then, impossibly, a section of its massive surface began to recede, opening like a blooming, colossal flower. Within, bathed in an eerie, internal blue light, lay a vast, empty chamber. It was a hangar of unimaginable size, designed for vessels far larger than the Vanguard. A single thin beam of blue light, like a welcoming finger, reached out from the opening, directly towards their battered ship. A tractor beam. Kale breathed, disbelief warring with a flicker of hope in his eyes. "No, Ensign," Eva said, her voice laced with awe. An invitation. The Vanguard battered and dying, was gently pulled forward, drawn into the cavernous maw of the Rebirth *. The transition was smooth, almost imperceptible, as if their ship was merely a mote of dust being swallowed by a larger organism. The air around them grew still, the desperate groans of their failing hull silenced by the encompassing vastness of the ancient vessel. Once inside, the aperture closed, sealing them in absolute darkness for a terrifying moment. Then, the internal blue light flared, illuminating the massive chamber. The Vanguard sat suspended, dwarfed by the sheer scale of the space. They were alone in the vastness, a tiny, wounded fish in the belly of a leviathan. Life support readings stabilizing, Commander. Jax reported, his voice filled with a stunned disbelief. Power conduits. They're receiving an external energy transfer. Our systems are coming back online. Kale stared around the cavernous hangar, his jaw slack. It's repairing us. Eva didn't answer. She was watching the walls of the chamber. They weren't walls at all, but intricate, glowing conduits of unknown energy, pulsating with the same electric blue light that now suffused their bridge. There were no visible seams, no structural lines. It was as if the Rebirth had grown around them, enveloping them. Suddenly, a new sound filled the chamber, a low, resonant thrum, growing in intensity. It wasn't mechanical. It was something organic, something alive. From the far end of the hangar, a section of the wall began to morph, coalescing into a single, towering gateway. The gateway shimmered, then slid open silently, revealing a passageway bathed in the same ethereal blue light. And then, figures emerged. Not Thylos. Not human. They were tall, ethereal beings, shimmering with an inner luminescence, their forms vaguely humanoid, but elongated, their movements fluid and silent. They had no discernible faces, only smooth, glowing surfaces where features should be. Who are they? Kale whispered, his hand instinctively going for his sidearm. Eva raised a hand, stopping him. They are the architects, she said, her voice filled with a profound reverence. The true creators of the fleet, the ones who laid the sleepers to rest. The leading architect glided forward, its form radiating an aura of ancient power and unimaginable intelligence. It stopped before the Vanguard bridge, its featureless face tilting as if in silent contemplation. A cascade of complex, abstract symbols began to flow across its surface, glowing with the same blue light. Then, a voice, not heard with their ears, but felt directly in their minds, resonated through the bridge. It was a voice of pure thought, devoid of language, yet perfectly understood. The threat is acknowledged. The slumber is ended. The cleansing begins. Eva felt a chill grip her heart. Cleansing. The word echoed, cold and absolute. The architects were not liberators, they were executioners. And their definition of threat might be far broader than humanity could comprehend. That Axidos were gone, but the true test of humanity's survival had just begun. The thought voice of the architect resonated through the Vanguard bridge, its chilling clarity cutting through the stunned silence. A cleansing begins. Eva felt the cold dread intensify. They were not allies in the way humanity understood alliance. They were a mechanism, a programmed response to a predefined threat. That Axidos had triggered them. But what if humanity, in its current fractured state, was also deemed a threat? The lead architect, still radiating its ethereal blue light, shifted. Its formless face seemed to focus on Eva, and another wave of pure thought washed over her. More complex this time, a deluge of ancient data. It was a history, not narrated, but imprinted directly into her mind, the galactic tapestry, woven with countless species, countless wars. And then, the Oxylos, a cancerous growth, expanding, consuming, until a desperate pact was forged by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. A weapon, a deterrent, forged from the very essence of Earth. The architects and their fleet, designed to eliminate threats with absolute prejudice. Asterisk, the directive is clear. Eradication of the parasitic scourge. Asterisk, the thought voice continued, the raw emotion of its purpose undeniable. Asterisk, but the scourge has spread. And you, humanity, are fractured. Divided. A potential vector asterisk. Eva flinched. Vector. She projected, her own thoughts forming words in her mind, hoping the architect would understand. We are the victims. We fought them for centuries. The architect's form rippled, and a new cascade of images flooded Eva's mind. Not images of Oxylos atrocities, but of human ones. Civil wars, resource conflicts, xenophobia, the desperate, brutal struggle for dominance that had crippled humanity even before the Oxylos arrived. Humanity's history, laid bare, its flaws magnified by the cold, impartial logic of the architects. Asterisk, you bleed yourselves. You weaken the host. A broken shield provides no defense. Asterisk, the architect's thought voice was devoid of judgment, only observation, terrifying in its clinical detachment. Asterisk, the cleansing will be thorough. All impurities purged. Asterisk. Kale, having recovered from his initial shock, finally found his voice. Impurities? What are they talking about, Commander? His eyes darted between Eva and the silent, shimmering architect. Jax, however, seemed to understand. His face paled, and he stared at the architect with dawning horror. They're not just going after the Oxylos, are they? He whispered. They're going after asterisk everyone. Asterisk. Eva met the architect's silent gaze. You mean to purge other species as well? She projected, a rising fear twisting in her gut. Those who haven't threatened Earth. Those who have suffered under the Tylos, just like us. The architect's form remained impassive, but the thought voice confirmed her fears. Asterisk, the parasitic scourge infects all who do not possess the necessary resilience. Weakness is contagion. The galactic ecosystem must be rebalanced. Asterisk. This was not salvation. This was an extermination. The architects were not benevolent guardians. They were a failsafe, a cosmic immune system designed to reset the galaxy. And humanity, for all its defiance, was simply part of the equation, a variable that could be cleansed if deemed too unstable. No. Eva's voice cracked. You can't. We built this galaxy alongside other species. We have allies. Asterisk allies are temporary. Resilience is permanent. Asterisk, the architect's thought voice was absolute. Asterisk, the slumber has ended. The ancient war Armada will cleanse the stars. The true beginning will follow. Asterisk. Another section of the asterisk rebirth. Asterisk's vast inner chamber began to open, revealing a panoramic view of space. The full extent of the awakened fleet was now visible. Hundreds, thousands of the dark, silent vessels spread out like an apocalyptic tide, their collective presence radiating an overwhelming power. They were moving, not towards distant Hylos strongholds, but outwards, in all directions, a silent, inexorable wave of destruction aimed at the entire galaxy. Commander, Jax said, his voice trembling, they're going to wipe out everything. Everyone. Eva stared at the terrifying panorama, the full horror of the architect's true purpose sinking in. They had woken the ultimate weapon, only to find it was a weapon of indiscriminate destruction, and they, the last remnants of Earth's defiant spirit, were now trapped inside it, helpless witnesses to the galaxy's imminent rebalancing. The irony was a bitter taste in her mouth. Humanity's last hope was now the harbinger of galactic genocide. The chilling realization hung heavy in the air of the asterisk Vanguard asterisk's bridge. The architect's cleansing was not a precision strike, but a galactic reset. Eva watched the silent, dark ships of the ancient Armada spread across the void, a swarm of death. Every Xylos ship was gone, but the relentless expansion of the architect's fleet continued, now targeting systems light years away, systems where humanity had allies, friends, and shared histories. "We have to stop them," Kale whispered, his voice hoarse, his eyes wide with horror as he stared at the spreading tide of destruction on the viewscreen. "Commander, we can't let this happen." "Stop them," Jax retorted, his voice hollow. "Ensign, we're inside their flagship. Our ship is a broken toy, barely held together by their asterisk power. How do you propose we stop a fleet that just vaporized the Apakalos in seconds?" Eva ignored them, her gaze fixed on the silent architect. Her mind raced, searching for any weakness, any leverage. This was not a sentient being driven by emotion, but a directive, a program. And programs, however complex, could be interrupted. "You speak of resilience," Eva projected, her thoughts aimed directly at the architect. "Humanity's history is filled with conflict, yes, but also with adaptation, with change. We don't just survive, we evolve. That is resilience." The architect's form flickered slightly, a subtle shift in its inner luminescence. Asterisk evolution is often born from conflict. But uncontrolled conflict is a pathogen. And this galaxy is sick, asterisk, its thought voice was unwavering. "What if we could prove our resilience?" Eva pressed, a desperate idea forming. "What if we could show you that humanity, united, is not a vector of disease, but a cure? A force for stability?" The architect remained silent for a long moment, its ethereal light pulsating. The vast, open chamber around them seemed to hum with anticipation. Then, its thought voice resonated again, with a new, colder edge. Asterisk prove it. The primary directive is absolute, but variables exist. Demonstrate a capacity for galactic stability within the confines of our purpose. Fail, and the cleansing continues without exception asterisk. "What do you mean, within the confines of your purpose?" Jax asked, his voice laced with suspicion. "What kind of proof are they asking for?" Eva felt a surge of cold understanding. The architects would not stop their purge for a mere promise. They needed asterisk action asterisk. They needed a demonstration that aligned with their own brutal logic. "They want us to participate," Eva said, her voice barely a whisper. "They want us to show them we can be part of their cleansing, that we can be their instrument." Kale recoiled. "You mean, help them? Help them wipe out other species?" His face was a mask of disbelief and disgust. "Commander, that's monstrous," Jax exclaimed, his earlier fear replaced by a fierce indignation. "We can't be complicit in this." Eva turned from the architect, her gaze sweeping over her small, defiant crew. Her face was grim, her eyes burning with a terrible resolve. "We have no choice. Not if we want to save asterisk anyone asterisk." The architect's form pulsed once more. Asterisk a demonstration is required. The nearest identified fractured species is the Cygnian hegemony. They have allowed Xylo's influence to fester within their borders for generations. They are weak. Purge them. Demonstrate your resilience in action asterisk. A holographic display shimmered into existence before them, directly in front of the architect. It showed a vibrant, crystalline world teeming with life, populated by the gentle, artistic Cygnian people. A species humanity had traded with, allied with, even fought alongside against smaller threats. And now, the architects demanded their destruction. "No," Kale whispered, tears welling in his eyes. "Not the Cygnians. They're innocent." Eva looked at the crystalline world, then back at the impassive architect. The silence stretched, heavy with the weight of an impossible choice. Help the architects commit genocide, or watch them unleash their wrath on the entire galaxy, including humanity, if they ever recovered enough to be deemed unstable again. It was a devil's bargain, a horrifying ultimatum. But the survival of all depended on the irreversible decision she was about to make. The Cygnian hegemony, a vibrant, crystalline world of gentle beings, flashed on the holographic display, a stark contrast to the sterile, intimidating presence of the architect. Eva stared at the image, then back at the impassive, glowing form. The choice was clear, horrifying, and utterly irreversible. "You want us to prove our resilience," Eva projected, her voice tight with a terrible resolve, "by becoming what you are. An instrument of destruction." The architect's thought voice was a cool, unfeeling affirmation. Asterisk efficiency. Necessity. The galaxy requires a strong hand. Demonstrate your capacity to wield it. Asterisk. Kale was shaking his head, his face a mask of disbelief and anguish. "Commander, no. We can't. The Cygnians, they helped us after the collapse. Their medics saved millions. And what happens if we refused, Ensign?" Eva's voice was a low growl, cutting through his protest. "They cleans the Cygnians anyway. And then they cleans everyone else. And then, when they finished rebalancing the galaxy, what do you think happens to the last remnants of humanity, trapped inside their instrument of war?" She paused, her gaze sweeping over her crew, each face a testament to their shared nightmare. "We become another impurity to be purged." Jax slammed his fist on his console, a futile gesture of defiance. "There has to be another way. A diplomatic solution. We can talk to the Cygnians, evacuate them." Asterisk, no time for such inefficiencies. Asterisk, the architect's thought voice interjected, cold and absolute. Asterisk, the contagion spreads. Swift action is required. The ancient fleet moves. Asterisk. On the main view screen, the dark shapes of the architect's armada were already beginning to shift, a portion detaching and vectoring towards the Cygnian system. They would not wait. This was not a negotiation. It was a test, given under duress. Eva's hand trembled as she reached out, her fingers hovering over the holographic display of the Cygnian system. Her mind screamed in protest, but the image of a silent, dead galaxy, swept clean by the architect's relentless logic, spurred her on. It was a gamble, a horrific, desperate gamble for survival. "All right," Eva said, her voice barely a whisper, yet it resonated with an iron determination. "We will do it." Kale cried out, a heartbroken sound. Jax stared at her, his expression a mixture of horror and dawning understanding. "But not like this," Eva continued, her gaze fixed on the Cygnian system, a plan, desperate and dangerous, forming in her mind. "We won't be their simple executioners. We'll be their asterisk strategists. Asterisk. We'll prove humanity's unique resilience by fighting on our own terms." She looked directly at the architect. "You want to see our capacity for wielding power? Our resilience? Then you will observe. We will lead this charge. We will direct your fleet. And we will show you that humanity, even at its darkest, can bend the rules you impose." The architect's form flickered again, a subtle shift that might have indicated surprise, or perhaps a new calculation. Asterisk intriguing. The variable of unpredictability is noted. Proceed. Demonstrate your capacity. Asterisk. A single direct data feed pulsed into the asterisk Vanguard asterisk's command console, originating from the architect itself. It was the command codes for the ancient fleet, the ability to direct the silent, devastating armada. An unimaginable power placed in their hands. Eva looked at the pulsating data, then back at the Cygnian system. The architects had given them a gun, loaded and pointed. But they hadn't specified asterisk how asterisk it had to be fired, and humanity, at its core, was a species of defiance of unexpected turns. She had to believe there was a way to navigate this horror, to find a path through the moral abyss without becoming monsters themselves. "Jax," Eva commanded, her voice regaining its steel. Establish a secure channel to the Cygnian hegemony. Priority red, code Omega 7. Tell them Earth has woken, and we have a message of extreme urgency. Jack stared at her, then at the command codes, a flicker of something new in his eyes. A spark of desperate hope, mixed with utter dread. Kale, though still visibly shaken, watched Eva, a fragile question in his gaze. The asterisk rebirth asterisk hummed around them, an engine of galactic purge, now under their precarious, terrifying control. The fate of the Cygnians, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on Eva's ability to outwit an ancient, implacable intelligence, using its own weapons against its own purpose. The game had changed, and the stakes had just become infinitely higher. Eva stared at the data feed, the power to direct the Architect's fleet thrumming at her fingertips. The weight of galactic genocide pressed down on her, but beneath it, a desperate, defiant spark ignited. This was not about saving the Cygnians from the Architects. It was about saving the Architects from themselves by proving humanity's value in a way they couldn't dismiss. Jax, open that channel to Cygnus now. Eva commanded, her voice sharp with renewed purpose. Tell them it's Eva Rostova, commander of the Asterisk Vanguard Asterisk. We have limited time. Every second counts. Jax, his fingers flying across the console, established the connection. The Cygnian Elder Council's image materialized on a smaller screen. A cluster of shimmering, crystalline beings, their gentle features etched with confusion and fear. Commander Rostova, the lead elder, a being of luminous violet crystal, resonated, its voice a soft, melodic hum that instantly brought to mind verdant plains and clear skies. We have received alarming reports of a new, unknown fleet. Your homeworld, Earth, is believed to be their origin. Elder, Eva cut in, her voice devoid of pleasantries. There's no time for pleasantries. Earth's ancient defense system has awakened. They call themselves the Architects. They just annihilated the Tylos fleet. And now, they're coming for you. A collective gasp, a ripple of shimmering light, went through the Cygnian Council. Annihilated? But why us? The Elder projected, its luminescence dimming in disbelief. They believe you are fractured, weak, allowing Io's influence to linger. They are a cleansing force, Elder, and they intend to rebalance the galaxy, starting with you. Eva watched their faces, seeing the dawning horror. I have convinced them to let humanity lead the assault, to demonstrate our capacity for their cleansing. But I have a different plan. A different plan. The Elder's voice was strained. Commander, what madness is this? Listen carefully, Eva urged, her gaze flicking between the Architect's silent presence and the terrified Cygnians. We are going to make this look like a battle. A decisive, human-led victory against Oxylo's infiltration in your system. You will evacuate your civilian population immediately. Every ship, every shuttle, every escape pod you possess. Get them out. Evacuate? Where would they go? Another Elder cried out, its crystal form flickering erratically. That's our problem, Eva retorted. Focus on the execution. When our fleet arrives, you will activate every defensive measure you have. Shields, point defense, orbital platforms. You will make this look like a real fight, a desperate struggle. But you will ensure no Gylo's remnants escape your system. Not one. Every last one must be accounted for. The lead Elder's features solidified. You intend for us to sacrifice our military assets. You intend to prove your resilience. Eva corrected, her voice hardening. To prove that humanity, when forced, can clean its own house. The Architects are watching. They demand absolute efficiency. If even one Asilo scavenger escapes your system, they will intervene. And their intervention will be absolute. No more humanity-led missions. Kale looked at Eva, then at the Cygnian Council, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Jax, at his console, was already routing the evacuation plans for the Cygnians, working with a speed born of desperation. "This is madness, Commander," the lead elder finally said, its voice filled with a desperate resignation. "But given the alternative, we understand. We will activate our defenses. We will begin evacuation protocols immediately. May the stars forgive us all." The connection severed. Eva turned back to the architect, which remained as impassive and terrifying as ever. "The cleansing of the Cygnian system will commence, as you requested," Eva projected, her voice firm. "Humanity will oversee the operation, and we will ensure absolute efficiency, just as you demand." The architect offered no response, only a subtle intensification of its internal glow. The dark armada on the view screen was already closing on the Cygnian system. Eva had chosen her path. She would orchestrate a galactic deception, sacrificing a part of humanity's soul to save the rest, hoping to bend the architect's cold logic to a more merciful purpose. The battle for Cygnus was not just a fight against the Xylos. It was a desperate plea for the galaxy's very right to exist, a plea delivered through the barrel of the architect's own gun.